Seniors on Soapboxes. Ken Sheets.
And Elizabeth England here.
Good morning. It's April
9th.
And we're talking about Trump's, the thing that's just been uncovered where he had his Pentagon go call in the ambassador to the United States from the Vatican and tell them, you're saying too many nasty things about Trump and you better watch out or we're going to take over the fucking Vatican. That's a direct threat.
Yeah, they summoned the ambassador to the Holy See to the Pentagon. Must have been a really incredible experience for that person to be pulled in there. That's not normally where they would be ever called to. And the transcript from it sounds like it was a threat to the Pope because of a January 26th, I believe, speech that he gave where he talked about, the nature of peace and Christianity, and specifically named some behaviors that Trump was engaging in as not being peaceful. Didn't say anything directly, but...
And the Pope came out very strongly against this whole threat that Trump made of nuclear annihilation for Iran.
Yeah, that you don't maintain peace by being a bully.
Yeah.
Is basically the gist of it. So they called the ambassador to the Holy See to the Pentagon and threatened him, gave a threat to the Pope. So we're thinking about this. How is this going to affect MAGA, and how is this going to affect the GOP? And about 50% of the GOP is Catholic, and we know that there's all kinds of propaganda and mind control going on here. And we saw the picture of Trump as the Pope. He brought himself out as the Pope. Yeah,
that makes way more sense now. That was not a little joke. That was an actual signal to his radical Christian base. Hey, I'm gonna be in charge of the Vatican.
And I did a little research yesterday on the church that Pete Hegseth's pastor comes out of. And they are Reformed Evangelical. Christian Reformed Evangelical Church is the name of it. And they're clearly Christian nationalists. And they believe that the country needs to be rearranged so that there is a privileged level of Christians and then everybody else is in mere Christendom or something else. They don't talk about Muslims at all in their system. There's, the lesser Christian religions of Catholicism and Mormonism and all the other ones that they don't like.
I wrote about this on Trump's Fever Dream, before the 2024 election, saying that if you think you're voting for Trump and you're going to get a Christian nation, here's the problem. There are 200 Christian sects, and they've been warring with each other for 2,000 years for dominance over this Christ thing. Let's call it. And really, if you look at their subtle differences, there's actually 2,000 Christian sects in America. I just learned this morning, doing my research for our pod today here. Elizabeth was a chaplain or assistant chaplain?
I was a chaplain's assistant in the Nevada Air National Guard. You guys probably don't know anything about my background, but I was 14 years military intelligence and special ops. And then I had a baby. I was in the Army, and I had a baby, and I got out of active duty in reserve duty for a couple of years, and I was a civilian. And then I joined the Nevada Air National Guard because I miss the kind of mission and purpose of that life, and the intensity of friendships and relationships were really good because you really count on each other, and it's important. It's important work that you're doing, So there was a nice camaraderie. So I went into the chapel in my last 3 years in the military, and I had, a real experience of this. There was a very highly respected and important priest who was the head of the chapel in Nevada, or I think for the entire state at one point. And he was retiring, and he was a lovely man. And a little bit of his history, I know he had some sort of ambassadorial position, or he was a press officer or something for the Vatican during his lifetime. So he was retiring, and then I was coming into the chapel around that time, and there were new chaplains being brought in, and it was, the jockey of which chaplain was going to get to be the new Nevada Air National Guard chaplain. Every chaplain in my chapel was an evangelical of a different version. And everybody that I worked with was an evangelical of a different version in that chapel. And I was the only one, I didn't really have a religion, so I had to declare a religion to be in the chapel. And I was married to someone at that time who was very comfortable with Catholicism, even though he didn't have a religion because he came out of a communist country. So I had declared Catholicism.
Did you study it too?
Yeah, I had to go through a whole course. I went, converted and officially became a Catholic.
Wow. Yeah, and I was raised Catholic, and I have not ever been any other religion but Catholic, and I still miss it. I mean, I got out of it because of all the pedophilia that was happening. I mean, it's much like they had their Epstein files era, and I've heard there's been, I don't know whether it's PR or not. I don't care to go back to the church right now. But I have been inspired by this new pope and his really strong stance. And he's from Chicago, so how couldn't I love him, Because I'm from Chicago.
Well, my personal beliefs always aligned with what I was told as a chaplain's assistant, that, your job is to meet people where they are spiritually. You're not supposed to be proselytizing. You're not there to convert anyone. Whatever their religion or their beliefs are, you're there to comfort and support, right? That was not happening in my experience in the chapel. I was already kind of picked out, first of all, as a female. They didn't really want me there. That was pretty clear. They didn't want a female chaplain's assistant in this chapel. Yeah. That was very clear, because when it was time for me to get the school slots, everybody's jockeying for the school slot to find their training, so they're official in their job. You may be working in a section, but you may not have officially been through the training. So when the school slots came up, and I was the next person to get it, they gave it to this other guy. And, and I said, wait a minute, I've been here a year longer than this guy waiting. I'm taking this school. And they said, that's okay, we'll just get a second slot, and you can go with him. So I ended up going to this chaplain's assistant school in Alabama.
Wow.
Yeah. And, you live on base with everybody. And by this time, I'm a mom. I have a child at home. Yeah. I have a full-time job. I'm there as a reservist, a National Guard member, rather. And most of the people in the class were 18, I would say. They were just 18. They were under 20 for sure. Almost all of them were from an evangelical background. They were there because they were going to proselytize. They didn't care about what the rules were. They
generally don't.
No, they didn't care that their job description was to meet people where they were spiritually.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They were from that evangelical background that, you are going to proselytize, you are going to find people and get them on their knees saying John 3:16 or whatever the John is, that you have to say that you're born again. And there were 2 Catholics in the class, me and one other lady. And we were picked out. We were told we were in a cult.
They consider Catholicism a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was the original basic Christian religion that all the other Christian religions split off from.
I don't know how many people in the country identify as Catholic who are voters, but it's got to be a massive number of people. And I just want people to know the background that this group in the Pentagon comes from says that this country will be completely reformed as a Christian nationalist country, and certain religions will be the privileged ones, and everyone else will fall into a tiered system of privilege. And it will identify what you get to do and who you get to be around and what your education is, what level of access. And
So if you're a Catholic, you're going to be very low on their totem pole.
yeah, you're in mere Christendom in their description, they call it. They have this weird thing they call
That will
mere
mean
Christendom.
lack of jobs, lack of government positions. Yeah.
So the Catholics in the military were denied an Easter service last week.
On Good Friday, yeah.
They fired the chief chaplain of the entire army, I think, along with a bunch of other people last week, who probably said, no, we're not into genocide, and we're not going along with your Christian fascism that you pretend is Christianity. So they were put out, and then literally they denied the entire military of a service on Easter, one religion. And you know they didn't do anything for the people who were Jewish, probably, or Muslim, or any other. Because when I was on a big base, you'd have a couple of services for different types of religions, and everybody would have a chance to have their time with their group.
Yeah.
So, officially I had to claim I was a Catholic, but I'm not. I'm a person who says, and this is my religion, there are billions of people on the planet, and there are billions of ways to find your center, your Christ, your story, and we're all inspired to find the Christ within us. So I'm just saying, for me, I'm not a religious person because I believe that there's no one religion that can, give everybody the path that they need. It's a personal path. So now we have a president who threatens to annihilate an entire civilization and claims to be a Christian, who's threatening the Pope.
Yeah. It's like
This is our
fiction.
president.
It's like science fiction or something out of Game of Thrones.
And
It's
these people
amazing.
think that they can just go, this leadership thinks they're just going to do this and they're not going to get pushback on this. They've already gone hard after women. And the women in this country know, like me, that we are under attack. It's like, let's normalize
And
rape.
they don't like that whole Mary thing in the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
Mary
the Catholic
being
Church
honored.
has a feminine icon.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work for them.
They don't like that. Women have to be subservient.
Speaking up about how they're for these conservative beliefs, and the role of a woman is, supporting the man.
the trad right. Yeah.
So, but the funny thing is that the thing that they're speaking up for doesn't allow them to speak up. They're already outside of the rules. They're only being allowed to speak up in order to make sure that everyone else shuts up.
So they're just making noise.
They're making noise.
to the men.
They're already outside of the rules. They're
women
not
folk.
allowed to speak up. Nobody cares what they say in their religion, so why do they even bother?
Well, anyway, I strongly warned that we would be having this problem as we led up to the 2024 elections. We're seeing a power struggle. This is the beginning of a theological power structure, fight that's fundamental at a religious level.
Yeah.
And take this seriously. We are going to see, maybe the expulsion of all Catholics from America. I mean, that's possible under this goofy way that these guys think.
Yeah, let me just go a little bit deeper into the background and history. I mean, these are the people who are associated with, there should only be under 800 million people on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have ideas like that. Like, heaven for them on Earth is to have only 800 million people. And they're not really, they're going to do it any way they can.
And they can't do it, so you wind up with a terrible foobar, don't you? Mm-hmm. I mean, everything becomes fucked up beyond recognition. The whole thing, though, of thinking that you're going to have a Christo-fascist state in America is a delusion. It is an absolute delusion. This is a big country with big minority populations, big Catholic populations, and this only leads to stupid war. Now, they're not afraid of stupid war, are they?
No, that's what they want.
Yeah. They have a lot of the capitalists, probably fall into these categories. And so, they're sort of worshipped in a way. If you're a billionaire, you are blessed by God, because that Puritanism, work ethic that America was founded on is based on the richer you are, the more blessed by God you are. Mm-hmm. So they got,
It's not about morality.
Yeah.
It's not about your goodness or your integrity or anything like that. It's really about the more wealth and power that you wield, the more you are chosen by God, because that's the only measure.
Yeah. Well, Barnacle today, I thought he made a great point about the Catholic faith being about taking care of the least of us. Mm-hmm. And of course, that is completely contrary to the capitalistic techniques. It was interesting. I did some research on slavery during and the position of Catholics during the Civil War, and they're really on both sides. The Catholic Church was sort of the Switzerland of religion during the Civil War and didn't take any.
That's a really nice way to put it.
Well, they were neutral. Yeah,
maybe Swiss cheese.
I still think of the Swiss as the neutral country.
I wouldn't call it neutral.
Yeah, what'd you call the Swiss?
Not the Swiss. I mean, the Catholics, I think, in general, have always been as practical as they could be to maintain as much power as possible and longevity. Oh, and their integrity and morality has always been flashed with blood by those decisions. Mm-hmm. But these are the decisions that happen when you decide to get into a position of wielding great power.
When you think about it, it's interesting how the AI said that the Catholics were neutral during the Civil War. But really, you're right, because what they were was fighting on both sides. Mm-hmm. It was both sidesism. Mm-hmm. It wasn't neutrality. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
And there's a tremendous history of the Catholic Church seeking wealth. So they would definitely take advantage in any situation they could to gain wealth.
Mm. You have such a depth of knowledge of psychological operations from your military background, such an understanding of the evangelical, efforts there were to do conversions of people, both native populations and within the ranks. Mm-hmm. What do you call that? Proselytizing?
Proselytizing, yeah.
I mean, that was a big part. And it was illegal, but they just did it anyway.
Sure. And I had a big class, there were 50-something people in the class, and there were only 2 people who were not evangelicals.
Gosh,
of some version.
So they and the Mormons did this too, didn't they? They sent a lot of people into the military service.
Yeah. Earlier in my experience, when I was in military intelligence and working with special ops, CA, PSYOPs, that type, and there were a lot of linguists. Mm-hmm. I met tons of linguists. So the military trains a lot of linguists in order to do their service in different parts of the world as interrogator translators and other positions. Yeah. And I found in the Defense Language Institute when I went there that there were a lot of Mormons. And they were there because they were planning to go to whatever language they were learning. They were planning to go to that country to proselytize Mormonism, but they were going to get their language training through the Army and get paid for it.
Their own Christian sect. So there's this rivalry between the different Christian sects within the military. Do you think, and I'm going to ask you a hard question now, with all your expertise, do you think that the U.S. Army is compromised? Do you think that it is far too much of an evangelical nature that we're in any kind of danger from our own military attacking American citizens here on our own soil?
I wish I could confidently say that I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah.
But, my experience being in the military is that it has a deep heart in the South. There's a lot of serious patriots and lovers of America in the South. And they've been brought up in an environment that's extremely confusing psychologically about what's right and wrong. And so, yeah, there are a lot of people who are very godly, but they were raised in racism. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's no comfort here from what I'm hearing from you, though. We're seeing some fracturing in the military, where we're hearing reports of people that are rejecting missions to bomb certain civilian targets in Iran.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing huge turnovers in the military because people are disobeying orders. So
Well, that's really good
that's
news.
part of the
If we take it simply from the idea of you take your oath to the Constitution and they have any honor to that, then yeah, they will be pushing back against this because
But when it comes to religion, they consider themselves above all those things. So if your religious leader says, forget about that Constitution thing, that's what they do.
I would say that, this is a really small group of people who've gotten a hold of a bunch of power. But they're a really small group of people, and they're like trying to turn a Titanic,
Yeah.
And they're doing a damn good job, but they're still trying to turn a Titanic, And the history of these types of attempts is failure. They fail eventually.
That's what I said earlier too. It's a shame the kind of foobar they create.
But boy, they have done a really excellent job at throwing wrenches in a lot of important things that make our country great. Because they don't like those things. They don't think they make it great because it doesn't give them the power they want. So it's going to be. I think people aren't going to put up with it, but there's so much pressure to just get through your day-to-day stuff the way that everything's set up right now, that it's like, I don't know, will there be a flashpoint? I hope.
Well, I just want to make a product placement here for coolesttecever.com before we go. Elizabeth, who you can tell is a very bright lady, has gathered the best health and wellness technology she's found in the conscious community, which is something we explored as an alternative to our earlier religions, and it's unfortunate that was so attacked by the QAnon movement, and so many good people in the conscious community fell into their whiteness as a trap. But we have so many.
They have so many scams to suck people in. I mean, they really do.
They get you so many ways. They got a scam for everybody, so don't feel
abortion. They got the trans. They got the vaccines. They got religion. They got a bunch of ways to get you.
But talk a little bit before we go, as our product placement here, about your coherence work that you're doing that people can see over on Coolest Tech Ever, which I think, whether you buy a product or not, I love what you're doing over there.
Yeah, the bottom line is that we all need to maintain as much internal and environmental coherence for our own health and our mental health, so we have products that reduce inflammation. That's one of the main things that I always try to find, products that will reduce inflammation, because all illness starts from inflammation. Once your body starts, inflaming in an area, it's because there's something going on. So that's we have EMF protection. We believe very strongly that the body, the biological system, doesn't do well in intense EMF environments, and that when you have relief from that, you will have just an up level in your health immediately. So that's the Blue Shield line that we carry, and we are distributors, and everybody who buys from us gets 10% off everything on their site using the coupon code COOLEST. So that's one of the products. And then we love Heart Math. And Heart Math is for your heart-brain coherence. It's a way to teach yourself to calm your heart and bring your heart and brain into sync with your breath, and to learn how to do that in almost any situation. It's literally a training program for internal coherence. And so anything you go over if you go to the HeartMath website, anything you purchase over there and you put coolest in as your coupon code, you'll get 10% over there.
And we have the best price on Dr. Flanagan's brain boosting NF3 Neurophone. They're made out of Germany. It's by a guy who's in his 80s. I don't know how much longer that product's going to be around, but it is revolutionary technology that got him the attention of the Pentagon. So
yeah, this is a very special technology. This is the two small electrodes you put on your forehead.
Transducers.
And you turn this device on, and it stimulates the corpus callosum, and so you get increased blood flow between the left and right hemisphere, and that's associated with calming, coherent state of mind, as well as some people believe because when you improve that signal between the left and right brain, you improve blood flow, and it lasts longer than just wearing the device, that you increase your cognitive abilities.
In all the years that I've done it, and I've raised over $2 million for Patrick selling these, I've only seen one returned. I mean, and it's just a great product.
Yeah, they are fascinating. Anyway, we have a lot of really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And we're always looking for more things like that, but it's always, everything is things that we have used and we go, oh my God,
and
do you believe the difference?
It supports us doing this podcast. It supports us doing the coolest meditation ever meditations. We've got a new one that Elizabeth's going to be having very soon.
Coherence protocol
that is coolestmeditationever.com. And it also supports our activism, where we have been warning people about Trump and all of the bad things to come at trumpsfeverdream.com since 2020 during the COVID outbreak. And, we're conscious life people. We love that event, but it's been hard to go there because it's become so political. And they used anti-vax as a way to really break up the New Age community to a large degree.
Yeah, there was an intelligence psychological operation that was run very effectively.
We hope we've made you aware of a very serious fracture in the fracturing nature of America right now, and that it's probably always been up at the religious level when you get right down to it.
Maybe,
always.
yeah.
With what Trump is. Trump is like now, someone called him Jesus. Yeah, who was that leader who called him Jesus?
Yeah,
the other day?
Paula White Cain last week blessed him and spoke about him as if he was Jesus, going through the resurrection, the whole. I mean, it was right before Good Friday, and it was bizarre and heretic. It was heretical in a way. I mean, if you're really a Christian, it would be heretical, And to have that happen right before Good Friday, and then on Easter Sunday, Trump. I don't know. I'm sure you all know, the crazy post he put out on Easter Sunday with Allah Akbar and fuck the Iranians.
Praise Allah on a Sunday. Yeah, it offended me, and I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore.
He's just mocking them, and then the next day he threatens to annihilate their civilization. It's just beyond the pale. This is not normal.
This is not a godly man. I mean, I think it's interesting to be on the same side with Tucker Carlson right now, who's calling him evil. I mean, Trump, I've always said, is evil.
Well, Tucker has a very interesting
evil
an scale.
He's got an angle to this for himself.
And it's always about making money.
Yeah. I mean, he's got an angle to this himself. He wants to be the head of this sect.
He wants to run for president or get back his big job at Fox.
Yeah. And God help us, he's one of these charismatic leaders that might have a chance.
He was up front all the time, and he's been in exile. He wants out of exile.
Yeah.
So he's got a very graded idea of what evil is. He's able to overlook a lot.
Yeah. I would say that, count your blessings out there. Stick together, call a friend today. Just stay in touch with people, because we're going to need each other to get through this, and we will
need
get
to
through
love
this.
each other. We need to treat each other with respect.
Yeah.
We need to identify human dignity as the priority.
Yeah. And I like the idea that peace is a thing. It really is something that you strive for. It's not the byproduct of dominating a population and creating just a silent oblivion. That is not peace.
And one of the great principles of peace is that you need justice. That's how we've gotten peace on this planet, is by finding ways
I love that.
to get justice.
Yeah.
And that's what's breaking down. This is a person in charge right now in our country who says, there's no justice. I don't need justice.
He's basically acting like God. Anything he says goes.
Yeah, and if you watch that little clip of him with Paula Kane White last week, you see how he's reveling in, wow, she just called me God.
Yeah, he just tilted his head
girl.
back with a big shit-eating grin.
Yeah,
He loved
what a
it.
good girl.
Yeah.
It was really disgusting to see. It was so awful.
Tell your friends about
Love your
Seniors
neighbors.
on Soapboxes. Love your neighbors and
Call a friend today.
get them to subscribe and share here, because we have the insights that can help you understand and cope with what's to come.